Hey everyone, welcome back to our interview series. Today's conversation is with someone who spent 25 years mastering the art of headshot and personal branding photography, not by chasing dollars, but by building genuine community connections. And here are the three most important things you learned from Seshu Badrinath today. First, why the first 15 to 20 minutes of any headshot session are more important than any camera setting. Seshu will reveal his executive whisperers technique that gets even the most guarded CEOs to drop their wall. Second, the nonprofit strategy that built his business. Seshu shows how working with board members and community organizations created a pipeline of high-valued corporate clients without really spending a dime on ads. And third, the technical shift that transformed his workflow, from shooting tethered to switching from strobe to lighting panels. Seshu breaks down why showing clients their images immediately changes everything. Seshu has been in the game since early photojournalism days, shooting for MSNBC, and now runs two separate photography businesses in Connecticut. His approach is all about service, authenticity, and the long game. Seshu, thanks again for sharing the magical formulas, and for the rest of us, let's dive in. Seshu, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me here.
All right, awesome, man. So the reason I reached out to you, one, because we had a conversation previously. Number two is there's actually multiple reasons, but because you're all over branding, you're one of the top headshot names in Connecticut. You're one of the Imagine early adopters, so you know a lot of that stuff, which seems to be a hype word. And you're overall a very warm and approachable person. so happy to have you.
Thank you.
I was Before the interview, I was browsing through your Facebook feed, and I was wondering, so Seshu, are we making money today, or are we in the full volunteer superhero mode? I know you do a lot of volunteer work and in the community. What's going on?
Well, it's a combination of both. I mean, I've got a fairly straightforward, I think, approach to business when it comes to business, but I also feel very strongly about living in a community and being a part of it, and wanting to give back to the community in whichever way I can do. I mean, I'm not able to donate thousands and thousands of dollars to all the organizations, but I can step up and say, "Hey, I can be a part of your you know your flow of things that need to happen for you and your branding." And if you needed, let's say, headshots for the staff or headshots for the board of directors, I'm happy to help if I can. If I have the capacity to be of service, why not? But of course, there's the business side of it as well that has to keep going forward as well. So it's a balance for sure.
No, it's interesting, and kudos to you. So it's not just purely business or money. Like you said, you're engaged. I was looking at your posts; they're full of like family hikes and curry nights and nonprofit shots, and I was like wondering, does the camera ever feel like a job, or is it like a job and joy all at the same time?
Thankfully, I've not lost the joy of making photographs. I think if that day comes, I think I'd be done. I feel very blessed in the way that things sort of fall in my lap, and I'm able to provide images to organizations, individuals that need it the most, and I'm really of being of service to people. I mean, in one way or the other. And I know you probably are thinking of the group Portraits for Patriots, for instance, that I feel very strongly about. It's an organization that has helped. That does help, actually. It continues to help veterans, or soon to be veterans, transitioning military personnel to transition into civilian life. And um, I think being a part of that, I think, is important for me. And among other organizations, local organizations as well, that like Healing Meals or Gifts of Love or whatever they might be here they reach out to me and say, "Hey, hey, can you step in and do something for us?" The answer is always gonna be probably yes. If there's time and if I have the capacity to, if there's no, clients already booked for that time frame, sure, I'm happy to. I just signed up with one just a couple of days ago, the Hartford Symphony Orchestra, because I love music and they need photographs. They need good photographs to be able to market their season throughout the year, their seasons, I guess. And it's a 2 for 1, essentially. I'm there enjoying the music and making pictures, which I enjoy doing anyway.
Yeah.
It's like, let's help each other out, and it's like, why wouldn't you do that? I don't understand the idea of just sitting at home and waiting for the phone to ring. There's lots of things you can do to get out there and be present and be seen by your community, and they understand that you have a job to do, and they don't know whether you're getting paid or not. I mean, the assumption is always gonna be, yeah, you're doing something for somebody, and that's all that matters to me at this point in time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, after all, they say your network is your net worth, right? It's good to be active.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel that uh, there's a crazy amount of, like, I completely admit being, um, sort of suckered into this, is that you feel that all your time and effort should be spent on uh, more sort of transactional things, but the real gold is when you've created solid relationships with your community, I feel. And you do that by getting to know people and being seen by people who are doing things for their community as well. That's really sort of where the things come together for me. So
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. Um, People see you on this sort of wall of hall of fame with the headshot photographers. They see your website, they see your work with private schools, you work with seniors. So they
yeah,
they see you almost like on a pedestal. Obviously, you have done this for how long now? 25 years? About?
45 years. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
Right. Yeah.
And a lot of folks struggle with sort of this mindset wall where, well, but that's Seishu, it's probably not for me or not me, but Seishu started with the first camera at some point, and we had if we traveled in time, help us understand where, like, Seishu, where was Seishu born? What's the story there? Let's travel in time a little bit.
Well, I mean, I can give you my origin story for photography. I think it's a fascinating one in that I was not sure what I was going to be doing. I was living in Japan and I stumbled into a exhibit by Mary Ellen Mark, who was no longer with us, but a phenomenal documentary photographer, and her work spoke to me, and I was like, "Well, this is kind of like the thing that I'm drawn to. I want to do this. What do I need to do?" And the first option that came up was to be a photojournalist, essentially be somebody who worked for newspapers and magazines. And this was when those things really were, I think, still thriving, maybe on their way out. I don't know. But I jumped in and studied journalism, became a journalist, worked for newspapers and magazines, did some freelance work, worked eventually for MSNBC.com back in, when they were in Seattle, Redmond, um, and then found myself in the Northeast again, freelancing for newspapers, and then eventually saying, "Okay, this is not very uh, conducive to home life or family life." Being able to just go out there and work, these gigs that would pay very little money. It wouldn't really it wasn't a business at that point in time, I'll be honest with you. I feel like looking back at that, I'm going, "How did I even accept a job for $25?" It just, like, blows my mind. I would travel for, like, 3 hours, like, Boston to, New York would be, like, yeah, almost 3 hours, um, just to photograph for this publication that, wanted to pay me 25, $75, something like that for a photo. I'm just like, I've made just a ton of mistakes without really thinking about whole lot of things. So let me say this: the 25 years I've been in business, filled with all kinds of errors. It has not been perfect, and that's okay, because I've learned. I've learned on saying yes to things and no to things, and that alone, I think, has grown me in a way that I wouldn't have been able to grow otherwise. So I feel like it's taught me a lot. It's taught me to be um, more cognizant of how to work with people. It's taught me how to price things. It's taught me on really having curious conversations with people about what they're looking for. Because a lot of the things I've done in the past, if I'm just rewinding in my brain right now, I'm thinking along the lines of, I just went in like with a camera and decided I was gonna just take the photos I wanted to take, and it doesn't work that way. It works only when you have a conversation with the other party, and you have this sense of like, okay, this is what is expected, and this is what you can do to go beyond that expectation, and deliver. That's the value, when you deliver more than what you are expected, that's where the value is, right? So, being able to do that, I think, has taken me a long, long, long time, and I'm still finessing it. I'm not in any. I'm not fooling myself by thinking I've arrived. Oh my God, absolutely not. I've definitely, I just still make a ton of mistakes that I feel, yeah, why did I do that? I should have known better. Why didn't I do X, Y, and Z? I'll give you a quick example. Um, just yesterday, I had a client who had already been booked for a headshot session. And originally, I would have met them at their car because I know for a fact they're bringing in somewhere between 7 to 8 different outfits for their headshot session, right? So, and but I was preoccupied and I said, "Yeah, I'll meet you at the front door." And I felt, and I still feel today, actually, that I feel like, why didn't I think about offering to go and meet them where they are? You know? That small gesture, uh, I would say, would have set the tone. Not that it didn't go well. I mean, it went very well. The client was very happy. Um, but it would have, I think, would have made her feel more comfortable, understanding, her immediate needs were like, "Hey, and I could see she was visibly struggling to bring her stuff in, and I was like, "Oh, eh, why didn't I step in and do this?"
Yeah.
Um, but now I'm going to put it into my little workflow that I've got going on. I've been taking notes about all these things that I do and don't do or should do, that will now be more systematized in a way. I know, and it sounds weird, but I want to be fully present for my clients so that they are fully present for me. And you can't do that if you're checked off or checked out rather, So so these are the things. As you talk about it, I'm like, oh man, I could have just met her at her car.
Yeah.
Uh, but to my credit, I walked all of her stuff back to her car when she was done. So I was like, okay, redeemed, a little bit. But, you know, uh, understanding these little nuances is where I think the business really has grown. Being understand and we talked about, uh, being being of service, in the community. I mean, this is an extension of it, honestly. It's not anything different from just, being there for a friend, and being there for somebody who needs your help. Just be human,
Yeah.
really, truly human. So,
Yeah, that's perfect what you said because it's really, the I'll sound like a business guy, but the conversions come from connections, right? Or conversations, and you have to be not only business aware, but like self-aware and constantly. I think that's where the growth is coming from for the guys that are successful in this game, because it's not just a framework, not just a protocol that they follow. not just the point where they got to and like, okay, good, checked off. Let's just now batch it up and scale. I totally resonate with you. You have to be a human to do that. Um, we had so I was born and raised in Poland. I had conventional parents, typical indoctrination, go to school. I remember when I first said photography, it didn't, not that it didn't go well, but there was a lot of like friction, because I had my other world with the just education and job and like, what are you doing? So I want to hear, was there any sort of immigrant parent eye roll, oh yeah, that's cute, but go get a real job or a degree? How do you feel about that?
Well, I gotta say I was blessed, uh, with parents who, uh I wish I had a chance to actually ask them now, but, I was blessed having parents who were, even though they were physicians and they knew what their goals were and their journey was about, they led both their sons, me and my brother, to do what really made us sort of light up, to sort of use a photography expression. And I go back to this, and I say this to my own sons, and I say this, because it's a very simple way that my father put it, and he said, this was like in high school, and he said, you know, I mean, he sort of laid the expectations that number one, work hard, but also pick something that you absolutely love, and I guess number three would be to make sure it's of service to somebody else. I think it didn't matter to him or my mom that I was getting into photography. In fact, my undergraduate degree was in history and American studies and stuff that they had no clue about. They had no idea what the heck I was doing. Um, but I think it broadened my mind and it gave me the capacity to travel and gave me the capacity to get out of my shell as such, because I feel like I'm more of an introvert than an extrovert, and one of the things we started this conversation about community service and not for profit kind of work, and I do those things also to get out in the world and be able to meet people that I typically won't be able to meet or don't meet on a daily basis, and I feel like that is sort of like a kind of like kind of a catalyst to just get out there and get going, do the thing that really will inspire conversation and curiosity and all those things, but also to just meet people in where they are, and get a sense of who they are. And that comes from being a history major and an American studies major and having lived in Japan for 2 years and traveled a little bit of the world. I'm not like some world traveler or anything like that. I'm just, I've gone to a few places. Um, Giving those things a chance to sort of define who I am, I think has helped. And I credit my parents for sort of giving me that, or permitting me to
Yep.
explore uh, a few things, history and journalism and photography. I mean, I think towards the end, I think they were very happy with what the kind of photography I was making or creating. Um, I don't know whether they got it, but I can, you know, I got to do what I got to do. So
Yeah. I mean,
I think,
you
yeah, yeah. I hope that makes sense. I mean, I think a lot of people feel, and I get it. But I mean, you are describing your situation. A lot of, uh, you know, you've moved from Poland to America. Why would you become a photographer, right? Right? What you've moved from India to the US. Why would you be a photographer? You could do something, and that's the beauty of America, man. I feel like you can do anything you want here, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah, I agree with you. A lot of people think of the American dream as like
it's immediately like monetized. Yeah, you can monetize everything if you're good in the area, but like it's I think more of a ability not to like get rich, but more of become who you really want to be.
Yeah,
Um, with what we have.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not just parents. I use parents, just
Oh,
because
yeah.
immigrant parents, but it's society in general, right? Like and especially when you're starting, I'm trying to tell people that it's like, it's totally okay. Just enjoy the ride. It's gonna take a little bit of time. When I say a little bit, it's in, um, quote unquote, little bit, because it like in your case, my case, I've been doing photography for 17 years. It takes time. It takes time. You're not gonna, you're not gonna produce this quality of work that we're gonna share with folks overnight.
Yeah.
Um, Before we actually look at your stuff, because I know you have like two spectrums. You have the headshots, but you have the seniors. So
Yeah.
are you like secretly like a senior portrait guy that hangs out with executives, or are you working with executives and you like to hang out with seniors?
So, I think where we stopped talking about my past was, I think I told you that I was interested in photojournalism and, working with, newspapers and magazines. And I transitioned to actually photographing weddings. Um, it seemed like a good fit for me because it was when I was marrying this idea of documenting a wedding versus doing the more traditional, grip and grin kind of photography that was being done when done well for many, many years, and I think the American public was ready for something a little bit more on the uh, you know, th the raw sort of, "Hey, show me what this event looks like," but not having to sit there and look at the camera all the time. So they were ready for that. So I was doing that kind of photography for some time. Um, and when it came to, transitioning out, I guess, to doing something more close to home, I started working with families and then kids and then high schoolers, right? So but the big thing, I live in Connecticut. I don't know if we talked about that, but I live in Connecticut where the season, and we're talking now in late December, it is freaking cold out there. Nobody wants to go out and be photographed. And trust me, man, I am the last person to say let's go out and take pictures in the cold because I don't do well in the cold either. My hands freeze up and it's not a pretty sight, and when you're uncomfortable, what kind of expressions are you gonna have? You're gonna have uncomfortable expressions, right? So I really thought about like, okay, what can I do that's not defined by the season? And the one thing that I could do consistently throughout the year is headshots
Yeah.
and personal branding work. I know, photographing business owners indoors. Um, if they wanted outdoor photos, we can do some, but we would have to be quick, or we'd have to wait when it gets warmed up. But I continued staying in touch with all my family clients, and and saw their kids grow up, and finally they were high school seniors, and then I would approach them and offer them the option to work with me. And since they'd already worked with me before for their family portraits, they would come back to me sometimes, and oftentimes it would be somebody new who had never worked with me, but had seen my photography website. And to tell your audience a little bit, I decided to split the two, well, genres into two different websites. One is for headshots, one is for high school seniors and families. And I think it just keeps things clean. Um, there are days when I feel like, man, I wish I could just have it all on one website, and maybe we can talk about that a little bit because I'm open to it, but at the same time, I don't want to lose the SEO juice that I've acquired or accrued over the last 25 years or so. Um, so I mean, to answer your question, I enjoy both genres immensely, but I think one is more seasonal than other. So and to stay busy and stay creatively busy, I would like to think, I want to be able to offer something that I could do indoors throughout the
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. No, no, makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, I'm just curious. So when you work with those executives, actually, before I jump into that question, just to make a comment on what you said with like separate websites, because I know the audience will appreciate it. It's because I always try to preach separate them as well, just for flexibility in case you decide to switch, go one way, this is the other. Marketing messages different because branding and stories are different, right? So,
Yes.
so we both know that. So yeah, so that's great. But I'm curious, when you work with executives, some of them are already trained to smile, and some of them are really grumpy. And when I look at your website, the personality comes through. How long do you have to like? How much time you have to spend with them to so they can first relax? I would imagine the session is not 2 hours long.
Yeah.
What's the magic? What's the pixie dust?
The pixie dust is time and not diving right into the photography. I think it's really getting to know people and I would often uh, have clients come in and put their things down and have a quick chat about where they are, what they're thinking about, or what kind of a weekend they may have had, a holiday they've enjoyed, or something just to take their brains off of thinking about what we're about to do, which is to photograph them. Like nobody wants like it's not I wouldn't say nobody wants. I would say a good majority of people are or don't do this every day, so they're uncomfortable. Let's just be very honest about
Absolutely.
it's not a comfortable thing because they have not been made to feel comfortable, right? So I work backwards. I work and go, let's make you feel comfortable and we're gonna just continue the conversation, but you're gonna stand over there rather than over here, and we're gonna just because I'll often the first few minutes of a client walking in, I'm looking at, okay, are they left-handed? Are they right-handed? Do they turn to the right more? Do they turn to the left more? You know, uh, are they do they have a do they have a little tick, where they flip their hair, or do they keep touching their eyebrow a lot? All these things are things that I'm taking note of. I am observing, understanding who my client is, um, and then once they sort of give me a sense of like, okay, they're ready to move and get started, I get started and I go over like all my uh processes and so that they feel comfortable knowing exactly what they can expect. I'll tell them about shooting tethered to the computer, making sure they understand what that means. Some people don't know what that means. We'd be like, okay, but I'll say you can come back and look at the photos right away and make decisions on what you would like. Um,
Well, sorry to break your train of thought.
no worries.
Ted's for people that do not understand, for the audience. What is
Yeah, yeah.
gathering?
Well, essentially, there are ways now to be able to show my clients their photographs unretouched on my computer because I use a program called Capture One on my laptop where I can connect it to my computer or my camera, and my camera then feeds that file directly and very quickly to the laptop, which is an amazing thing because clients can see the results almost well, they're not final results, but they're results that they can approve of their expression. They can say, "Hey, listen, I'm not sure about the lighting. Can you do something a little bit different?" We can make those changes, and that's the beauty of working with digital these days. I think be able to have that instant, hey, check, let's do this, let's figure out exactly what is going to work for that particular client because not every obviously we all know this, but we have unique faces, right? So the lighting cannot be set it and forget it in the same spot for every client. They need to be moved around a bit, and understanding that um, those nuances is where your client is going to appreciate the fact that you've actually created something super custom for them. Um, Going back to the tethering thing, being able to show them the photographs and having them come back and look at them and understand, hey, bringing your chin forward would be ideal. You know, making sure that they're uh, giving me a little bit of a squint in their eyes would be ideal. There's a little bit of coaching, well, not a little bit, there's a lot of coaching that goes into this session with my clients. And once your client feels that they're being helped and they see the results right away, they go, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I shouldn't slouch my shoulders so much. I should bring my shoulder to the right a little bit more." They start to learn. Essentially, they're learning on the job as such, and they're making those changes where they feel, I think, more and more confident. I mean, I ideally, and I've seen this as a sort of a very rough, unscientific sort of, experiment. I would say 15 to 20 minutes in is when I see them really, yeah, their guard goes down and they go, "Okay, I get it. I know what to do." And then we start making pictures and we start making photographs that speak to them. Not every single photograph is gonna hit, but that's okay. We're looking for a small subset of photographs that are gonna help them feel, number one, for their audience, be able to make them feel confident and approachable, which is something that we hear all the time, right? Do you feel confident and approachable when you see this photograph? It's a yes or a no, and and I always say put it in the perspective of your audience, not you. This is not about this is as much. It is a photograph of you, but it's for somebody else. It's for your audience to be able to connect with you. So think along those lines. So I bring that mindset to the session as well, which I think helps because a lot of people, when they walk in, they think it's all about them. It is about them, but it's also about somebody else. So they have to split that a bit and really make that transition. And once that transition comes in, the expressions are there. Everybody is able to express themselves. I mean, there's nobody that, that's just like, as you call them, grumpy. Well, they don't have to be. If you make the session fun, why would they be grumpy? It's up to the photographer, honestly. It's very true. The
Absolutely.
photographer the photographer has to step in and not just be photographer, but also director, guide, right?
Yeah.
And be there for them, really, and give them some grace. Because some people, even if you tell them, "Move your chin to the left," uh, I don't know if the camera we're using right now is having me go to the left or right. Yeah, it's going go to the right. So regardless, if you ask your client to go to the left or right, and they're for some reason they don't get it, you got to show it to them. You got to be able to
Yeah.
stand
Yeah.
next to them and say,
Yeah.
"Bring your chin forward, bring your chin down, bring your chin left, bring your whatever." And I'll usually sometimes use my hands to give them gestures. Like, "Hey, just tip your head over this way, tip your head over that way." Those things are, I mean, honestly, that's sort of the thing too, is that's missing in a lot of photo sessions. I feel like they've never had that.
Mhm.
They've only been told to stand there and smile,
Yeah.
right? Stand there and smile. What?
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
smile about what?
Yeah.
You're not giving them the context to smile about something. So I talk about a lot of things that, obviously they're comfortable talking about that makes them smile genuinely. We talk
Yeah.
about travel, we talk about food, we talk about pets, we talk about kids. We hopefully they're not being stressed by the kids. But everything that they feel like happy and proud about, why would they not exude that when you've brought that up as a topic and you're just having a conversation like we're having a conversation right now, Marcin, right? And I see you smiling too. I see you smiling, right? There you go, right there, right there, right there, right there. Click, click, click. My brain is working that way,
Yeah.
where I'm going, "Oh yeah, that's a photo right there."
Yeah, it's between the moments, right? Sometimes have to know where to click the shutter. Totally resonate with you. Those are the fine nuances. I almost feel like sometimes in this photography journey, you kind of hit the plateau with your technical camera skills, but you have to then focus on human skills, right? Because even for us, when we shoot weddings, right, it's the same thing. And
Yep.
the thing is, sometimes you're posing clients and like not everybody takes directions the same way. Not everybody kisses, hugs, or smiles the same way. So it's like it's that keen ability to understand how to work with people and just be okay, be relaxed. Because I think a lot of times client almost mirror your behavior, that not your behavior, but like your state of mind. If you're nervous, they're gonna be nervous. If you feel calm and relaxed, they seem to be like just calm and relaxed.
Let me give you a quick example of how I learned this. I was at Peter Hurley's workshop,
Mhm.
and I was being timid. Let's put it that way. I wasn't really being like, one of the things he teaches people about what to do at a headshot session is to be confident yourself. Because as you correctly said, if you're not confident, if you don't exude that kind of energy of confidence, but not cocky confidence, confidence that you're going to be able to help somebody, they're going to start feeling like they're going to start pulling back. They're going to start going, oh, I don't know if this guy what he's talking about. He doesn't know quite he's not giving me the right directions. What's up? So I credit Peter Hurley's workshop of breaking me through this era of timidness, of not being able to give people the directions in a very assertive manner, but in a kind manner. You know,
Mm.
things like bringing your chin down or bringing your shoulders off your body, or like I would say move your left shoulder away from the camera or towards the camera. Those are the kind of lingo that I think I was lacking, and I feel like Peter helped me in being able to get there, rather quickly. So kudos to Peter. I mean, honestly, I feel like a lot of people feel after their session like, "Oh, that wasn't so bad." Yeah, it isn't bad because, we work together, we ultimately are able to connect, and you listened to me and you followed my directions, and the results are on the laptop. You're looking at them, you know, because a lot of people walk in here thinking, oh no, photos, I can't do them. I've been failed before. It's going to happen again. Not necessarily. If you were to just to give yourselves a little grace, pay a little attention to the directions you're being given, and follow along and see what happens. A lot of the times it's a matter of, as I started to say about this, matter of time. It is about time. It is about giving people some time to settle in. Which is
Yeah.
one big reason, Marcin. I'm not a big fan of the 5 to 10 minute headshot session, because I'll do them if a company says, "Hey, we've got 200 people." I'm not spending half an hour each, of course. Right?
Mhm.
Makes no sense.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't be able to afford it either, I think. I feel like they'd want me to move quickly and get people back to work, and so I have to be respectful of that. So there are times when I have to break my own rules about, hey, we gotta work for at least 15, 20 minutes. Well, some people they have only 3 minutes. What are you gonna do? Right? You're gonna have to give them directions in a different manner that gets them there still, and do the best you can. You can't, and you got to be honest with whoever's hiring you and say, hey, this is typically what I need. But if you are going to give me only 3 minutes or 5 minutes or 2 minutes, this is what you're going to get.
Yeah. Yeah. And the point about getting people to smile, I got to tell you, I'll be honest with you, I used to hate being in front of the camera. Like doing
Yeah.
this would be petrifying a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But you gain that confidence, and with you, when you're this executive whisperer and you get them to actually smile, show the personality, they look at the
Yeah.
photos, they probably have this epiphany like, holy shit, I can actually be like, I can smile, I can be confident, in front of the camera. So yeah,
Absolutely.
totally.
Yeah. I was working with, as I said, a client just yesterday, and she'd sent me her LinkedIn profile photo, and she was like, "I don't want this. I don't like this. I've been using this for years, but I don't like it, and I've been told by my boss that I need something new and different, and that shows my personality." And she has a beautiful smile, but years and years and years of uh,
Yeah.
conditioned, experiences of whatever that may
Yeah.
have happened. The walls have gone up, and I told her, I called her out on it. I
Yeah.
said, you got a wall in front of you. Let's
Yeah.
break it. Let's make it so that people can see that friendly, sometimes goofy side of you, because that's what they want to connect with. You know, the authentic side of you, if that's the word for it. You'd be able to the real side of you. Let's make that happen. The confident and approachability can come almost later if you are able to connect with somebody human to human first. That's really the ball game in a way. So
Okay. We've talking for a while without showing the audience anything. I want to look at your
oh my god, oh my god,
and
yeah,
as we go through,
yeah.
you can talk or I can talk. I'll probably interrupt you. I'm super excited whenever I look at your work, man. I gotta tell you, it's the human aspect that opens up people in front of the camera. I honestly,
Thank you.
of course, there's mastery with photography and technical part of it, but it's just the guidance. I think that's where the magic is. But let's look at the photos. We have a couple examples here that you sent me.
Mhm.
Let's start here, and I'll start with a question actually. When the
Sure.
folks come in, because for an uneducated eye, they only see a Photoshop, like headshot. It's what is it? It's just an image of a person standing in front of the camera. I mean, now they will probably start thinking that there's more to it than this. But pricing wise, a lot of people don't even underestimate headshot photography because they think it's just a headshot. How much can it cost? Maybe it's $200, $300. But there's like different levels because you start with basic photography, basic headshots, but then we talk about other levels like branding. So when your
Okay.
client, and I'm just curious, do do they understand branding? Do they understand that aspect, or were they just, the corporate world just sent them out to get a better photo for LinkedIn? What's your observation?
I would say most people start with a headshot, understanding that that's something that almost everybody requires, almost in a way. I am doing my best to break out of that and give people more options. Which is what's coming in 2026. In my studio, I'm going to be working with people to obviously to for their headshots, but I'm going to start offering them the capacity to look at other options while they're here, and no pressure to buy anything more than they want. If they love it, they can use it in some capacity, or they see themselves being able to, um, deploy them in their marketing in the future. Great. Most of the clients that I work with, like law firms, financial folks, physicians. They're maybe not physicians, but the lawyers and financial folks. They're somewhat limited by what they can do because they work for a company, and the company already has some guidelines on the design and the branding and the styling of things. So they have to go with that option. The independent physicians have a little bit more flexibility in being able to say, okay, well, I want photographs of me working with a patient in quotes, be able to show my capacity to interact with somebody, so that's on the branding side. So that's where I have to go to their office space and set things up and things like that. um but I think there is a welcome move to expand beyond the headshot. uh,
Mhm.
uh, and are looking, and they understand that they have uh, this wonderful headshot that is going to sort of bring out, invite people into a conversation, but there's more to be said. That's where branding steps in. When they have to say more about. I mean, this gentleman right here, for instance, you know, he could be. I mean, I'm just speculating. I don't know for fact. He could be a weekend uh, little league coach, right?
Yeah.
That's part of a story, right? He could be an athlete outside of work, right? That's part of a story, right? Or he could do something completely, like he could be a carpenter. I don't know,
Yeah. Yeah.
something that sort of adds to who he is, Monday through Friday. And this is an option, if people want to start telling more about their story visually, we have those skills, those services now available to them. So
No, nice. So a headshot like this, somebody comes in, first thing, background, black versus white. Is it per request? Do you recommend something, or?
It is per request. It is also per the idea of photographing people on two different or two at least two different backgrounds and giving them the option. Sometimes it's directed and guided by the company they come from. If the company says, "Hey, we've all been photographed on a darker background. Can you match it? Can you match this background?" You know, I work with an exceptional retoucher who can match backgrounds and things like that. So I can say, yeah, we can do that. But often I do like to show people what it might look like to be photographed on different colors in the background.
Mhm.
So it's not always a darker background or a lighter background. It could be a mix. You know,
Yeah.
the client yesterday actually photographed on two different backgrounds, and I brought out a color background too, like an actual colorful canvas because she was wearing something very interesting, and I was like, "Oh, that would look good. Let's see what it hap let's see let's see." I always start by saying, "Let's see what it looks like," because sometimes I don't even know. I can speculate, I can say, "Yeah, this is what you absolutely must have." That said, Marcin, I think a lot of people gravitate towards the darker background because
Interesting.
number one, I think it brings attention to them right away.
Yep.
Number one, they won't say it, but that's what's happening. I think brings attention to them right away. Uh, and a lighter background or a white background, high key, what's considered a high key look, uh, can be shot well. And the problem though is your eyes can tend to go to the background more than the foreground. So you have to be careful about that.
Yep. Yep.
So
Yep.
those are those are, and some people are going to be fine in front of a white background. Some people are like, where am I in this photograph? I don't even see myself.
Yeah.
That just is a possibility. So you got to be careful about being able to deliver that to the people. Again, it all depends. I mean, there's a real estate company that photographs everybody on white.
Yeah. 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 I see that.
Yeah.
For comparison, I'll switch over to white background.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is more of like this bolder look, right?
Yeah.
You're right. Attention goes to the background a little bit.
Sure.
So talk to us about how equipment heavy is set up like this, black or white, but how many lights are you using? Camera set, like what's going on?
I mean, if you are, you could use a white background to start with and add more lights to it to make it pure white. Or you could even use a light gray and then throw light at it and becomes light, lighter gray or even white in that capacity. Um, I keep things pretty simple, honestly, Marcin. I don't want way too much clutter with too many lights because it can overwhelm somebody walking into the studio. I don't want them feeling like, oh my God, what's all the stuff here? I want them to walk in, put their things down, and step into in front of my camera, and I explain the lights, explain I use panels, by the way. Now I use constant lights and I use nan lights. These are beautiful. Uh, they're called Power Slim panels. They work really well for me, and they're consistent. I like the fact that the light is consistent, the color is consistent. Um, and if the background needs more light, we throw more light at it, either by flash or with more constant lights. It really depends. It depends on how much time I have with each person. If we're rushed, I usually just go with the flashes and get a clear white. And then my retoucher can always clean things up as well. So I sort of lean on him a little bit on the final results, um, making sure that, if the client sees a lighter background, I can explain to them, hey, this is going to be pure white. You just want to make sure you understand that. And they usually do. So that's not a problem.
Yeah, when and the next equipment question is in January. I think we have a mutual friend, Yannick Vasho. I know aired it, his interview on the profile. I'll have an opportunity to talk to him. But I know his approach is different. I think he's more of a bounce light guy where he has a soft light and then he's just bouncing around the subject. You're saying panels. Was there a specific reason why you moved to panels? Is it just more controlled light or?
Yeah, well, yeah, control light is one way to describe it. I work in my home. I work in the basement where it can be dark sometimes.
Yeah.
There's not very much light coming through. So one of the things that was happening, honestly, Morrison, is that when I was using Flash in my space, uh, people's pupils were like really large, because of Flash, right? Because your eyes are already like your pupils are already enlarged, and because it's so dark. So wasn't a great look. So one of the things I was doing actually was using uh, a flat nanlite panel, um, just to give them something to look at, in terms of, so their pupils would not dilate, would constrict essentially. Um, and I wanted that and I wanted that to be consistent though, but once you have an extra panel and then you're using flash, they're two different sort of frequencies almost, right? So I was getting a lot of issues with inconsistent color,
Mhm.
So I'd heard about these panels, and I wanted that everything firing at 5600 Kelvin, making sure that that's all they see in front of them, right? Not one at 5600 and one at, I don't know, 5800 or whatever it is. That small shift can be something of a difference with certain skin tones for sure. So I want to make sure everything is consistent. I mean, that's my goal. I mean, I'm still working towards that. Um, I don't have the let's put it this way. I don't have the capacity to raise my lights or anything like that too much. So the panels also helped in that way because they can go up to a certain degree and still work really beautifully. And the flashes that I was using were using modifiers were quite large,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. True.
when you top out at 6'7", you really I was struggling, put it that way, and so the panels were a blessing, to come through and be able to give me these options, and my clients love them because they don't have to blink, every time I've had a lot of people because of the dark environment, of the studio, they'd every time the flash goes off, they'd be blinking, you know,
Mhm.
and now nobody blinks, which is great,
Yeah.
which means I get to be more efficient at what I do.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. True. You mentioned, so we're talking studio setups, but I know you also shoot on location. So
Yeah.
when you change environments, is it easy for you to replicate the lighting? Is it almost the same? So can the client walking in, corporate client knowing they have 20 people lined up for the shoot,
Mhm.
bring you in and expect the same results?
Absolutely, and the reason is the first thing I look for when I walk into a room is a light switch. As long as I can turn the the lights above turned off, then I get to be the guy who controls the light, the one thing I can't handle is, of course, these fluorescent lights that are, you know, blasting at you down below. So I always like to get that information ahead of time when I talk to a client and set up like a team portrait day or whatever, team headshot day. I always say, "Hey, do you have a way of turning the lights off in your conference room? Otherwise, we're going to be struggling." And so, I set the scene and make sure that's possible. And then consistency is a no brainer. It's got to be there.
Yeah. So we're talking about a lot of success and a lot of we're showing spectacular work. But let's talk about obstacles a little bit. So first thing that comes to mind, you said when you're working with teams, what's like the biggest team lineup when somebody shows up at a corporate gig? Did you ever run into like a huge group of people or?
Well, we talk about like how many people to expect ahead of time. So there's no surprises,
Uh,
The last time I think I was surprised, I was photographing at the Connecticut, Convention Center, and it was at a conference, and I had no idea how many people would would step up and sign up, on that day. I think I ended up photographing 220 or 240 people, all students, again, no I would there was no way for me to prepare them for their headshot, so it was, you know, kind of almost run and gun, which I'm not a big fan of, I'll be
yeah,
honest with you, because you know, because quality slips drastically when you don't have a way of conveying to your clients how to prepare, you know? I
yeah,
think there's a lot to do with the way people show up in my photographs is they come ready. They come prepared, their outfits are freshly dry cleaned or ironed. There's no cat hair, dog hair, you know, uh, they know that when they show up like, they're ready to be photographed,
yeah,
and, you don't have that capacity in a bigger settings. You do in a certain to a certain extent, you can send them an email, but who checks emails these days, right?
yeah,
So there was that challenge, where some people, their tie was, like, out here, and you have to readjust it, and you lose time because of doing that. So the coaching aspect also is not there, right? When you're in front of somebody and you got like 40, 50 people standing behind you that need to be photographed, you're not going to be fussing as much. So I'm not super thrilled with the final results, but the organization was very happy that
yeah,
we were able to deliver the images to them quickly,
yeah,
So
And it's fair because you're for your clients, the expectation. I mean, the results show obviously, but the thing is, it's more of like a boutique approach, right?
yeah,
And that's you
absolutely.
pay, but you get the results. So it's
Absolutely.
rarely their choice. The spray and pray almost never works. so so I can relate with
Yeah.
that. Let's give seniors a little bit of light here. So for seniors, in terms of
Yeah.
obstacle, did you ever had any meltdowns? Any mom that's joining the senior and she's yelling at you or showing you examples of pictures that are impossible to reproduce? No issues with seniors. Are they easy to work with?
I think anybody is easy to work with once you've been able to communicate with them, um, and have an open conversation with them, where you are, discovering what matters to them most, and what kinds of things they have had issues with in the past, and you avoid those, obviously. Um, couple months ago, I should say now, I worked with a young woman who I had photographed many years ago for her headshot. She was into acting and performing and things like that, and so her mom had brought her. When I photographed her, she didn't let me know that she had some issues with the way her outfit looked, and I didn't even bring it up to her initially because I didn't know what was happening. But during the session, or after the session, when she was looking at her portraits, she was always sort of going back to, "Oh my God, my pants look this way, or my shirt looks this way, or whatever." I said, "Well, some of these things can be fixed by my retoucher, but I can't promise you everything that we can take care of." But this is again another learning moment for me. Being able to have this conversation ahead of time would have helped, and so I'm just calling myself out here in a way, um, because I did have a conversation with her. I understood that she was, accomplished at what she does now in high school, and I wanted that to be highlighted. But come session day, all of that seemed to have gone out of the window, and she came in with only what she had, and her outfits were not on hangers like I'd expected them to be, and so there were things that were going like in the sort of a different direction, and I was like, okay, we'll just make the best of it. And then come to find out that she was not like thrilled with the way her outfits were
Yeah.
working for them. And so there are times when I do have to take notes, step back and say, okay, we'll do the best we can. But ultimately, I direct people back to the expressions that they have in their photographs, and I say, yeah, the clothes are not amazing, but ultimately, if you're expressing yourself in a way that's natural and honest, and this some sense of, okay, this is what my life was like in high school, I think we've won. We've got
Yeah.
some winners, Um,
True.
but I don't. Yeah, there's a lot that goes on in terms of getting a client ready, and
Yeah.
this last client, I'm telling myself I dropped the ball on getting our outfits ready. You know, Some, I'm learning. As I said, 25 years in, I'm still learning.
Yeah.
Did we do this? Did we do not do this? And so uh,
Constant improvements.
yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of the client 3 months from now, 3 years from now, when she's looking back at her photographs, right?
Mhm.
And if her brain, her or his brain goes back to, oh my God, my outfits were not great, right? That's a problem for me as well. Not for her, I mean, for them as well, but for me for sure, because they're thinking of, oh my God, this is what they can now expect from other photographers they work with in the future as well. They may or may not come back to work with me, right? So, in a lot of ways, I have to get things right so that they have a newer and more nuanced sense of working with a photographer than they've had in the past. So
Yeah.
I take that responsibility very seriously, man. Honestly, I think there's a lot that, um, and I work with a lot of people who are nervous about being photographed, whether it's headshots or seniors, and they have not had good experiences in the past, and uh, and I don't want to be one of those.
Yeah. One of
You
those
know,
guys.
one
Yeah.
of one of those experiences, I don't, honestly,
Totally.
that's what keeps me up at night. Honestly, I'm like, did I
Totally.
get everything? Did I make sure they have all the information they need? Right?
Yeah.
Are they really truly prepared? Um, yeah, I think it's an important thing that we rarely ever talk about. We talk about gear and we talk about um, locations and outfits, but we don't talk about how ready is a client. And you're a wedding photographer, so I'm sure you have many conversations with your clients.
Yeah.
Hey, how is the wedding day gonna be for you? Like, where are you both? In your mind space about each other,
Yeah.
right? Is your mom gonna be crazy? Right?
Yeah.
we, we
Totally.
gotta talk about that.
Family dynamics, very important. Yeah.
Family dynamics. Oh my God. Like, you've gone to a wedding and you go, why are they not standing next to each other? They said they were married, right?
Yeah.
Why are they not standing? Something, is it something happened? Did I do something? Right? You don't know the backstory, and unfortunately, people are, you know, either as photographers, I don't think we ask the right questions. I think that's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
True.
we're too cagey about wanting them to just book, right?
Mhm.
That we forget. Let's get to know them as humans.
Yeah.
Spend the time, have
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
Don't make it about the are you going to buy an album, or you know, or whatever. Make it about, hey, how is this wedding day going to be? Talking about your weddings now. With
Mhm.
how is this experience going to be, regardless of what the genre of photography is? How is this experience going to be for you? Let's make it a win
Yeah.
for you.
True. 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 Speaking of finding out who you are, who clients are, let's find out more about you. I got a series of quick questions that we're going to run through. Short answer. If you get stuck, just let me know. We'll go to the next one. But there's plenty of things I wanted to ask, and it'll make you human again, not a superhero photographer. So first one is favorite lens for headshots. Only one. What's your favorite?
Oh, So I was using a 90 millimeter on a Fujifilm. It's an XF90 f2. I love that lens. The only issue I was having, again, because of my space, was that I was too far back from my clients. I was not. I was able to, like, when I direct my clients. I tend to use my hands, right? And they were not able to see me because I was so far behind, so far back. And so I just bought a Viltrox 75 millimeter lens. It's an equivalent of 112 millimeters on the full frame.
Mhm.
I think that's the sweet spot for me, honestly.
Gotcha. Next one, natural light or pro flash for senior portraits, or a combination of both?
Oh, it's a combination. You can't. There's no like. Let's stop with this. Oh, you got to be only flash or only natural light. I feel like you got to mix them both.
Yeah.
Again, think about your audience and think about the variety you're going to be able to offer them, and you have both options, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you had an option of putting a dream client in front of you, would it be for a headshot? Would it be a celebrity or like a known CEO for your own brand? Which path would you choose?
Oh boy. Can I have those options again one more time?
It's either a celebrity that you can do a headshot of, or like a very CEO, not necessarily like a public, famous person, but a CEO of like a big local company.
Hmm. I'm gonna go with the local, to be honest with you.
I think I agree with you. Yeah. Biggest style crush right now. So who are you looking at? Who are you looking up to? There's always somebody higher that we're like, I love his work or her work.
Um,
There's probably a few, but I get it.
there's a photographer. Well, there are so many photographers, but so many great photographers. Uh, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but his name is Nadav Kandar.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you know the name. There's another guy, Marco Grobe, who's
Hmm.
amazing as a portrait photographer. Just
Yeah.
ridiculous, so good. I've got both their books, and I just lose myself in their books all the time. I'm just going, how the heck did you do?
Yeah.
Dan Winters. Dan Winters is one of my favorite portrait
Yeah.
photographers. You know,
Oh, that's fantastic.
um, and yeah, I mean, I do like. There's a New York photographer named Pete Coco whose work really speaks to me because the way he lights people, and there's a sense of play in the way he creates images for his clients, and I think they're very nice and beautiful. Um, in England, there's a guy named Ian Weiss, I believe his last name is. I can send you the links to these guys' um, but there's lots. I tend to lose myself in other people's work. I do, only to see what they've really been capable of creating. And you know, guy named John Gress in Chicago. I don't know if you know John's work.
No, I don't.
Whew, just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, I think you just killed my afternoon.
Yeah, yeah, I did. Yeah,
But
you can spend a lot of time
yeah,
looking at other
absolutely.
people's work for sure.
Yeah,
No.
absolutely, absolutely. I you mentioned lighting. I'm really hoping that I can. We're in conversations with this young kid, without dropping names right now, who does food photography, and I gotta tell you, it's all about lighting, and it's just mesmerizing. The guy is after. He recently graduated from a film school, so he has that background. So it's less of a photography. He's not spoiled yet. and and hopefully we can bring him on. All right, next question, and I think I know the answer to this one: coffee or masala chai? You mentioned coffee this morning.
No, I did mention coffee. I'm a masala chai guy. I really
Ye-
do. I do love my masala chai.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Warm tones or cold tones? Like which one? Which one on a scale? Where are you falling?
Warm tones, of course.
Most people seem to be gravitating that way. One app or software that you cannot live without if we eliminated everything but left one. Which one would it be?
Oh gosh, it'd be Capture One. Capture
Okay.
One.
Okay. When you're with family trip, are you dragging your big cameras or are you just shooting with your phone?
I'm dragging my Fujifilm X100V.
Okay. All right. All right. Full commit.
It is a serious camera, but it doesn't look serious and it doesn't weigh a whole lot.
Yeah.
And I do not want to be weighed down by all my other gear. There's no way.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Look, my family won't have the patience of me, setting up with a tripod no, it's gonna have to be simple.
If tomorrow you had no bookings, what would be your side gig?
Well, I don't know if there's a side gig that
Honest-
probably. What's that?
Like what's the side hobby that you have where you would kind of gravitate to? You don't look like a musician to me.
No, I would be no, I have no music in my body. I would be, I've often fantasized this, to be honest with you. I would wanna be a photography bookseller and, um, gallery curator.
Wow. Yeah, still art. You're addicted. Good. Good. Good.
Yeah.
Did you ever bag a CEO to say cheese?
Never. I don't think I've ever used the word cheese.
All right.
Well,
And when you do photos, do you feel more comfortable taking photos of family or strangers?
I'm challenged by both, I'll be honest with you. I don't know if I answered your question, but I feel like, everybody has their moment. Again, it comes down to conversations and having a clear communication to what your expectations are, and once they understand your expectations, it goes smoothly. So I'd say both. Honestly, they're both challenging. They both give me a sense of purpose when I've gotten a photograph that works for me. And I mean, I recently photographed a bagpiper. I met at one of the workshops I was attending, and I'd invited him to a session of his own. Um, I mean, he and I contacted each other. We stayed in touch, and we just said, this is what I was expecting to do. And once he got here, we were able to change things up, and he was okay with it. Being able to, if I sense in the person I'm photographing that openness, that sense of play, right? That, okay, let's try something different. What if we did this? What if we did that? Then I think we get some interesting photos, interesting portraits. But if people just want something straight on and be done with it quickly, I'm happy to do that too, because I don't want to waste people's time either. So
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And the last question in this quick series, are you ever going to reveal your secret retoucher, or is this intellectual property worth than all the technical gear alone?
yeah, that person's name is yeah, no. I listen. When I was introduced to him, the photographer who introduced me to my retoucher told me, "I'm only doing this because you're a nice guy, and you have to promise that you will never ever reveal that person's name."
Yeah, yeah.
And here's why, and I finally get it, because there are times when I can't even get my retoucher to
Mhm.
get my work back quickly because he's busy. He's very good at what he does, and he has other clients. And so when you have to respect another person's, uh, capacity to work and produce good work as well. So I think it's sort of like I don't know. It's not like I'm trying to protect my brand from being copied or anything like that nonsense. It's just that I don't want him to be so overwhelmed, like that he's not able to deliver the images that he's already got on his plate, just to give him a break. So
Yeah, totally.
sure.
Yeah, it goes back to that responsibility that you keep highlight. It's to the benefit of your clients too, because that's
100%.
what it.
Yeah.
Um, Before we start wrapping up, AI, obviously everybody talks about AI. And I'm just curious, in the business in general, not only editing, like in your workflow from, I don't know, website, chat box, I didn't see one, I don't think, but to like CRM, dealing with clients, editing, delivery, um, do you use it, AI? And to what extent?
Uh, I do use it, uh, and it's a very minimal extent. Uh, Not to the extent that I am. I haven't started like I know other photographers who do excellent work replacing backgrounds and things like that. I haven't started doing that kind of work yet. Um, I'm enjoying my time with ChatGPT, to be honest with you, because I do ask. I've started to get a little bit more bold about asking it questions about, uh, you know,
Philosophy?
what, how do you, no, no, not philosophy, but I do ask about how do you respond to when a client says this, what would be the nicest way to respond to this, and so I take some notes from that. Uh, I use Evoto. Uh, it's an exceptional tool. But as I was describing it to a friend who was a photographer on the West Coast, because there was some question about how is it does it feel too AI, like does it look, and there is the possibility you could go crazy with it. There's no doubt about that. But I get a fair number of clients who wear glasses, and the way I've set up my lighting, there are times when I have to get that glare off of their glasses. It looks amateurish if you don't, I think,
Yeah,
you know. So Evoto comes in very handy. It makes it possible for me to take care of that. Uh, take care of that glare and take care of other issues. It could be the background or whatever it is. If my retoucher hasn't had a chance to address it properly, I can run it through Evoto. And so I do use AI. I'm not afraid to use AI, but I'm you know I throttle it back a little bit because I don't want it to dictate the way my images are going to start looking.
absolutely. And do you use some sleep overseeing like the headshots that folks create on with just selfie selfie upgrades?
No, I think there's a place for everything, Marcelin. I think there's a mindset that says, we need something quick. Yeah, you have to use the tools that are available to you. I'm not going to begrudge anybody doing that. Um, the long term effect of that, of course, are twofold. Number one, um, losing trust of your audience. I think there's definitely that possibility, because something feels off usually. Be like, what's going on? And the other thing I have to caution people is that we don't, you and I don't know what happens to these images that you're inserting into these machines, right? I mean, you don't know how they're going to use. They might use them. Somebody down the road might use them for things that you don't want them to use them for. So that's where I think you got to say to yourself, "Am I okay with this or am I not okay with this?"
Yeah,
So I'm careful about dropping um, client files into those kinds of tools because even though and they could do it too. I mean, they could easily take one of the images that I've created in my studio and put it into AI and do whatever they want with it.
yeah,
I have no control over that, right?
yeah. You're gentle about it. I think I'm more brutal about it.
Yeah,
You said there's something little off about it. To me, it's so synthetic. I don't think we're quite there yet, at least.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and it's kind of weird, to be honest.
yeah. I just ran into a photographer yesterday who has two websites. One is, I'm not kidding you. I'll send you his links if I can find it. One website is of all of his work using a film camera. Okay, not even digital camera, film camera, I think. And the other one is all AI.
Wow, what up?
Oh yeah, I'm like, why are you doing this, dude?
Yeah, two sides of the valley. Holy crap. Yeah,
I am amazed at. I mean, look, there's a certain level of respect I have for somebody who says I am exploring. I'm an artist. Fine, no problem, right?
yeah,
And I'm glad he's open to disclosing that one side is all AI, one is all film. I think that's important. You know, so as long as there's that honesty, I'm okay. Call it out. You know,
true. Um, Sort of in closing, let's imagine somebody starting out headshot photography business.
Mhm.
They have, I don't know, 3 grand on hand, let's say. They can rent their camera. Let's put together, let's assemble a business for them, right? On the spot. So like where do they need to spend their money and time at the very beginning? So they have 3K camera they can rent, because obviously they would drop 3K on just the body alone, right? So camera and lens they can rent. Lighting, where would you tell them to go? Like strobes or panels are probably too expensive, no?
Not necessarily. I mean, if it's a business that they think they're yeah, I would rent. I mean, you could even rent those. I think. I imagine there are lots of rental places that'll have panels to rent as well. Um, in fact, I do know they will, because these are the same panels that are being used in the movie business. So I know
No.
movie studios aren't going to be buying these and holding on to them. They're going to be renting them. Um, I would say. I mean, is $3,000 their sort of their budget right now at this point in time? Is
Yeah,
that yeah?
yeah, we're just riffing here, yeah.
Yeah, I would spend probably the first. I would say even not even have to spend anything. Just go out and meet with local nonprofits that have fairly long lists of board members and offer your services to work with them
Wow,
to
yeah,
create a portfolio that will then launch you into two things. Number one, you're going to have a portfolio. Number two, you're going to have these amazing connections with these people
mhm,
who are board members. They're board members of nonprofits, but they work at pretty darn good, solid companies,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Who need headshots. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not even next week, but definitely in the next 2 years, they'll think of you and go, "Yeah, I had my photograph taken for this nonprofit, but I'm sure he's the right, or she is the right guy or person to come in and photograph our teams at some point." It can happen. It is a long game. Unfortunately, we have to play,
yeah,
but you have to extend yourself out there, meet people, offer your services, and you're doing something good for the community. I mean, that's the way I'm thinking of it. We started about talking about community and nonprofit work, and we're almost wrapping up with the same idea. Get out there and meet people, offer your services, be of service, and give back with little to no expectation of an immediate return. I think
yeah,
that's the most important thing. Because if you start thinking along the lines of, "Hey, this is I'm not able to turn this around in 2 weeks or 2 months," uh, and what am I going to do? Well, that's a different conversation, really. But I think this is the long game. If you're going to get into headshot photography, or even, really, I think the headshot photography is really clearly, it's sort of, there's a line you can draw from headshot photography to board members to future work very clearly. And this has helped me get my name out there in the community quite a bit, I think. Um, and you can do this quietly without any big pomp and circumstance, or you can use social media to get the word out and say, "Hey, I'm here at this nonprofits and I'm doing this." I think you have,
yeah,
either some kid following you around with an iPhone and taking video, and you share that, online, and you're starting to market your business, right? Which is important. Again, you really haven't tapped that $3,000 a whole lot other than some rental equipment.
yeah, exactly.
It's gonna take time. Yeah.
Fantastic advice. And the other thing is also, you're really testing the waters. Maybe you hate it. You know, so
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you put a shoe and like, I don't know, maybe that's not for me. A lot of people are like drawn into the wedding world, and it's like it's a lot of stress. You can't tell the bride to walk down the aisle twice. So I totally see it. Before we wrap up, I just wanted to pull up the website. Let's see if
Nope.
we can do it. Where do people find you? Is this your landing spot? Where do they go if they need Seishu to work with them? Is this your main landing spot?
Yes. It's Connecticut, spelled out, headshots.com. Very easy to remember. Yeah, I think it's
For
coming up
seniors in the
quick.
audience?
Seniors, it's my first name, Seshu, and SeshuPhotography.com.
Very cool. And then for all the CEOs out there, this is your LinkedIn profile. They can also
Thank
find
you.
you.
Thank you
Awesome, man.
very much. Yeah,
Um,
I appreciate it.
I I think any specials going on? Do you offer like a new year, new you uh, Christmas special? All right, I get it.
I'll say this much. I'm stealing this idea from another headshot photographer, and it's not so much. Well, I guess we're borrowing and not stealing. I shouldn't say stealing, but the idea is that yeah, prices are going to go up in January, and this might be really the best time to lock in your 2026 headshots at 2025 prices. And really, I'm not even joking. January rolls around, and I quietly do increase my prices because things have increased in price for me. And so there's no other way, really to continue in this business and stay, sustainable and profitable, uh, unless, I win one of those Powerball lotteries or something, that's not going to happen. Right. So got to do the business. So thank you.
Yeah. Um, one last thing. I actually ran into your post. I know you went through for you with your mom recently. I know your mom passed, and I saw a
Yeah.
post where you were asking like you were wondering if they're kind of looking down and wondering if you're doing the right job. And I gotta tell you, Seishu, that absolutely you do. So
Thank
you
you. Thank
thanks
you.
for
Yeah.
sharing others. You're an example. A lot of people, including myself, look up to you. Work is
Oh,
fantastic.
wow.
Just wanted to thank you for your time, and I appreciate. Hopefully, we can do something, together again at some time. Thanks, man.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. And next time you're in Connecticut, I'd love to photograph you. So, and especially because you got those amazing glasses, man.
Yeah, I'm easy on the t-shirts because I wear black, but I have the other red pair
Yeah.
of glasses. So we'll figure something out.
Oh, man. I got it. Bring it, man. Bring it.
All right, thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye.